Good morning everyone. Welcome to Janata College online classes in botany for plus 1 class. Okay, for the plus 1 class, the first chapter in botany is biological classification. Biological classification, that means the classification of living organism. You know, biology, that means the living organism that includes both the plants and animals, right? Then the classification means the lawful arrangement or an orderly arrangement. അതായത് ജീവികളെ തരംതിരിക്കുന്നതിനെ കുറിച്ചാണ് നമ്മൾ ഈ ചാപ്റ്ററിൽ പഠിക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, സോ ദ ക്ലാസിഫിക്കേഷൻ ഓഫ് ഓർഗാനിസം മീൻസ് ദ അറേഞ്ച്മെന്റ് ഓഫ് ഓർഗാനിസംസ്. That means arrangement of living organism that we are going to discuss in this chapter. So this is in your textbook, it is the second chapter, but in botany this is the first chapter. Okay, so we shall start. In ancient time, the people were classified the organisms based on their uses. So uses means what? Some of the organisms are used as food, then some others are used for the clothing, and some others are used for the shelter also. So in ancient time, the people had classified organisms. മനുഷ്യർ പണ്ട് ഈ ജീവികളെ തരംതിരിച്ചിരുന്നത് അവരുടെ ഉപയോഗം അനുസരിച്ചാണ്. അതായത് ഫുഡിന് വേണ്ടി ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നവ, പിന്നെ ക്ലോത്തിങ്ങിന് വേണ്ടി ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നവ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഷെൽട്ടറിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. സോ ദീസ് ആർ ദ മെയിൻ ക്രൈറ്റീരിയ ഇൻ വിച്ച് ദ ഓർഗാനിസംസ് ആർ ക്ലാസിഫൈഡ് ഇൻ ഏൻഷ്യൻ പീരീഡ്. ആൻഡ് so I think all of you know that it is not a good classification, right? So it is only a primitive method. It do not include any scientific technique. Okay, so that is why this type of classification was discarded, and so many persons had tried to classify the organisms. And later a most eminent person, he is the Aristotle. Aristotle, he had classified organisms in a some more scientific way. So in his classification, the plants are divided into three groups. They are herbs, then shrubs, and third one is the trees. So according to Aristotle, the plants are classified into herbs, shrubs, and trees, and the animals are classified into the animals, those who are having red-blooded and those who are not having red blood, that is non-red-blooded animals. So this is the classification of animals according to Aristotle. You know that Aristotle, he is the father of biology, and he had classified the plants into herbs, shrubs, and trees. You know, herbs are the small plants. Then shrubs are somewhat more higher than that of the herbs, that contains somewhat thick stem, and trees, they are the larger plants. And in animals, most of the animals are having red blood, so that will comes under the red-blooded animals, and those who are not having red blood, they are included in non-red-blooded animals. Okay, so this is the simple classification put forward by the scientist or the most eminent person. He is the philosopher, and also he is considered as the father of so many other science subjects also. So he is the Aristotle. Okay, then so when we think about this classification, we know that it is not at all a good method of classification. On that time it was accepted, but now it is not a good type of classification. And after so many years, another one scientist, he is also considered as the most eminent and most intelligent and versatile person. He is the Carolus Linnaeus. And he is considered as the father of classification, father of taxonomy, or father of classification. He is the Carolus Linnaeus. He put forward one type of classification that was accepted worldwide, that is a two-kingdom classification. So two-kingdom classification, it was a widely accepted classification very recently, and that was what? Two-kingdom classification. The kingdom includes, two kingdoms are kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. So what are the two kingdoms? Kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. As the name suggests, the kingdom Plantae includes all the plants. All the plants will come under the kingdom Plantae, and all the animals will come under the kingdom Animalia. Okay, so this is a worldwide accepted classification on that time by Carolus Linnaeus. He is considered as the father of taxonomy or classification, and that is a two-kingdom classification that includes kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. Kingdom Plantae contains all the plants, and kingdom Animalia includes all the animals. Then, so I told you all the plants will come under kingdom Plantae and all animals will come under kingdom Animalia. And so many other living organisms are there. For example, this virus, viroids and bacteria. So they are not included in this kingdom. So like such a manner, this two-kingdom classification is also having demerits. So there are demerits in two-kingdom classifications. So let us see what are the demerits. Demerits of two-kingdom classification. First one, there is no difference between, he didn't give any differences between prokaryotic and eukaryotic organisms. So he is not given any differentiation or he didn't distinguish between the prokaryotic and eukaryotic organism. So what is prokaryote? Primitive. Pro means primitive, and karyon means what? Nucleus. So the animals which is having primitive type of nucleus will come under the prokaryotic category, and the animals which is having true nucleus, the word means is true. So the animals or the organisms which are having true nucleus will come under the category called eukaryotic organisms. So in Carolus Linnaeus' classification, there is no difference between the prokaryotes and eukaryotes. He included both the prokaryotes and eukaryotes in single category. Then second one is, there is no differences between autotrophs and heterotrophs. So here autotrophs, simply the autotrophs means what? Photosynthetic and heterotrophs means non-photosynthetic. Autotrophs means photosynthetic and heterotrophs means non-photosynthetic. So some of the organisms which is having the ability to prepare their food material by themselves, and some others are not having the ability to prepare food material. So in his classification, he included both the autotrophs and heterotrophs in a single category. സ്വന്തമായിട്ട് ഫുഡ് പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യുന്നതും സ്വന്തമായിട്ട് ഫുഡ് പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റാത്ത ഓർഗാനിസംസിനെയും അദ്ദേഹം ഡിസ്റ്റിങ്വിഷ് ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല. എല്ലാം കൂടെ എന്ത് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്? ഒരേ കാറ്റഗറിയിലാണ് നമ്മുടെ ലിനേയസ് കൺസിഡർ ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളത്. So that is not a good one. So that is also a demerit. And the third one, there is no differences between unicellular and multicellular organism. So he didn't given any differences between the unicellular and multicellular organisms. Unicellular means one. So the organism which is having one cell, that is called as unicellular, and the organism which is made up of more than one cell is called as multicellular. And in Linnaeus' classification, he didn't given any differences between unicellular and multicellular organisms, and he included both the category in a single category. Okay, and the fourth one is what this demerit means. He included the organisms such as, he didn't included the organisms such as what? Virus, viroids, then lichens, etc. in any of the category. That means a majority of organisms, a major group of organisms will not comes under any of the category. A major group of organisms are not included in any of the category. So these are the main demerits of Linnaeus' classification. So I told you, so it includes so many morphological characteristics. So it is some more scientific way. It's this classification also based on some more scientific way, but it is do not include so many aspects such as what cell structure, the natural cell wall, nutrition, habitat, reproduction and evolution. So these should be included in a good classification. For the classification, there should be an overall characteristics should be included. So this Linnaeus' classification also was discarded. Okay. Then after that, so many scientists had tried to propose good classification, and finally in 1969 another one scientist called R.H. Whittaker. He had classified the organisms, the whole organisms are classified into 5 categories or 5 kingdoms. So R.H. Whittaker classified the organisms in 5 kingdoms, and this classification is called as 5 kingdom classification. So R.H. Whittaker in 1969, he had classified organisms into 5 groups. All the organisms are included in 5 groups, and this classification is called as 5 kingdom classification. Let us see what are the different kingdoms. So kingdom first is Monera. Kingdom Monera. Then second one Protista, then third kingdom Fungi, then fourth one Plantae, then finally Animalia. So these are the different kingdoms of 5 kingdom classification. The 5 kingdom classification was proposed by R.H. Whittaker in 1969, and this includes 5 kingdoms. So 5 kingdoms are there in Whittaker's classification. They are Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae and Kingdom Animalia. So these are the kingdoms of 5 kingdom classification. Let us see what are the criteria in which R.H. Whittaker included in his classification. So first one is cell structure. So second one is what? Thallus organization. Then third one is mode of nutrition. So first one cell structure, then thallus organization, then mode of nutrition, then fourth criteria is reproduction, and finally phylogeny. So these are the criteria in which the R.H. Whittaker included in his classification. So R.H. Whittaker's classification is based on criteria such as cell structure, thallus organization, mode of nutrition, reproduction and phylogeny. So first of all, we shall see what is cell structure. Cell structure is nothing but whether the cell is prokaryotic or whether it is eukaryotic. So if cell is prokaryotic, whether the cell is prokaryotic or eukaryotic. So I already told you, prokaryotic means what? The cell which is having a primitive nucleus. Primitive ആയിട്ടുള്ള nucleus ഉള്ളതാണ് ഇത് prokaryotic organism. And the cell which is having a well defined nucleus is included under the eukaryotic category. So this is about the cell structure. Then thallus organization means whether the organism is made up of only one cell, that is cellular level, or whether organisms are made up of tissue level of organization, whether the organism is having tissue level of organization or whether it is having organ level of organization or organ system level. So these are the organ system. So these are the terms which comes under the thallus organization. So thallus organization means whether the organisms are made up of only one cell or it is made up of tissues only, whether they are made up of they contains organ level organization or organ system level organization. That means from the primitive to advanced, whether the organism is made up of based on the thallus organization. So that will comes under the second criteria. Then third criteria is what? Mode of nutrition. പോഷണം, how the organism is obtaining food from the environment. എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഓർഗാനിസം ഫുഡ് എൻവയോൺമെന്റിൽ നിന്ന് ഒബ്റ്റെയിൻ ചെയ്യുന്നത്? On that basis, that criteria is also included by R.H. Whittaker. So that is the mode of nutrition. Mode of nutrition means whether the organism is autotrophic or whether it is heterotrophic. So that is included in the third category. Then about the reproduction, fourth one about the reproduction, and you know that reproduction is the ability to produce its young ones. And in reproduction we know that there are two types of reproductions. They are sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction, or vegetative reproduction. So these are the two types of reproduction, and all these characteristics are also included in the reproduction. And finally phylogeny means what? Evolutionary relationship, പരിണാമം. കുഞ്ഞ് ഓർഗാനിസം, പ്രിമിറ്റീവ് ഓർഗാനിസത്തിന് എങ്ങനെയാണ് അഡ്വാൻസ്ഡ് ഓർഗാനിസംസ് ഉണ്ടായത്, all that will be included in evolutionary aspects. Okay, so these are the criteria which is considered by Arch Whittaker in his classification. Okay, so it's very important classification. It was worldwide accepted now also. That classification is proposed by Arch Whittaker in the year 1969, and it includes mainly 5 kingdoms. Not only mainly, it includes 5 kingdoms. They are Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae, and Kingdom Animalia. These are the criteria in this classification. And let us see one by one what are the different characteristics of these kingdoms. Kingdom Monera. So the first one, Kingdom Monera, main characteristics of these organisms are, the organism which comes under the Kingdom Monera are all prokaryotic organism. All the prokaryotic organisms are included under Kingdom Monera. Understood? And second one, Kingdom Protista, all the unicellular eukaryotic organisms are included under the Kingdom Protista. And in the Kingdom Fungi, all the organisms are heterotrophic cell wall containing organisms. So all the heterotrophic cell wall containing organisms are included under Kingdom Fungi. And Kingdom Plantae includes all the organisms are autotrophic and cell wall containing. So autotrophic cell wall containing organisms will comes under the Kingdom Plantae. And finally Kingdom Animalia includes heterotrophic cell wall lacking. So cell wall lacking means cell wall is absent in such organisms. So these are the characteristics of different kingdoms. So first one, Kingdom Monera, it includes all the organisms are prokaryotic unicellular. All the prokaryotic unicellular organisms will comes under the Kingdom Monera. Then Kingdom Protista, all the organisms are unicellular and eukaryotic. Then Kingdom Fungi includes all the organisms are heterotrophic and cell wall containing. The fourth one, Kingdom Plantae, all organisms are autotrophic and cell wall containing. All the plants are having cell wall, and all the fungi are also having cell wall, but they are heterotrophic. They depend on other organisms for their food, but the plants are having the ability to prepare their own food. And in the next category, next kingdom is Kingdom Animalia. That includes all the organisms are heterotrophic. We know that animals will depend on other organisms for their food material. For having their food material, the animals will depend on other organisms, and they are not having the cell wall. That is why it is given as cell wall lacking organisms. So these are the different kingdoms, and these are the main characteristics of different kingdom. Let us see in detail about the first kingdom, that is Kingdom Monera. That is the first kingdom. And all the organisms which comes under the Kingdom Monera are what? Prokaryotic. All the prokaryotic unicellular organisms, will comes under the Kingdom Monera. And the sole members of the Kingdom Monera, ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതലായിട്ട് Kingdom Monera-ക്കകത്ത് വരുന്ന ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതലായിട്ട് വരുന്ന ഓർഗാനിസംസ് ബാക്ടീരിയയാണ്. So that is why this kingdom can be otherwise called as bacterial kingdom. So Kingdom Monera includes all the prokaryotic organisms, and the sole members are bacteria. And mycoplasma also we can see mycoplasma also in the Kingdom Monera. And you know that the bacteria is omnipresent. Omnipresent means what? It's present everywhere. Bacteria is present everywhere. If you are going to space, there we can see the bacteria, and if you are taking a handful of soil, inside the soil we can see hundreds of bacteria. So in such a way, everywhere we can see the bacteria. So that is why it is called as omnipresent. Omnipresent എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ present everywhere, എല്ലായിടത്തും കാണാൻ പറ്റും. Everywhere we can see the bacteria. Okay, and bacteria classification. Bacteria classification ആണ്, and the bacteria is classified based on shape. Based on shape, it is classified into mainly 4 categories. They are coccus bacteria, then bacillus bacteria, Vibrio bacteria, and finally Spirillum. Coccus bacteria. Coccus, the bacteria which is having round shaped bacteria ആണ് coccus bacteria എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. Coccus means singular, cocci means plural, COCCI. Cocci means plural. Okay, so coccus bacteria which contains all the round shaped bacteria. So the second one is the bacillus. Bacillus bacteria is the rod shaped bacteria. All the rod shaped bacteria will comes under the what? Bacillus category. Bacillus is singular. Then bacilli is plural. BACILLI. Bacilli is plural. Okay, then the third one is the Vibrio bacteria. Vibrio means comma shaped bacteria. So if the bacteria is comma shaped, such bacteria is called as Vibrio bacteria. Vibrio is singular and its plural is Vibrio. Vibrio bacteria, it is the comma shaped bacteria. And finally Spirillum, it is a spring shaped bacteria. So its shape is like that of a spring. So that is why it is given the name Spirillum. Spirillum is the spring shaped bacteria. Okay, and its plural is Spirilla. So these are the classifications of bacteria based on its shape. First one is the coccus, round shaped bacteria. Then bacillus, rod shaped bacteria. Third one is the Vibrio, comma shaped bacteria. Finally the Spirillum, that is the what? Spring shaped bacteria. So these are the plural forms of these singulars. Then next one, based on the habitat where this bacteria is living, on that category, the bacteria is divided into 2 groups. They are Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. Bacteria where it is present, on that basis it is divided into Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. The first one is the Archaebacteria. It is having the ability to live in extreme harsh environment or extreme harsh habitat. ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ അഡ്വേഴ്സ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള കണ്ടീഷനിലും ജീവിക്കാൻ കപ്പാസിറ്റി ഉള്ള ബാക്ടീരിയയാണ് ആർക്കിബാക്ടീരിയ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. സോ ആർക്കിബാക്ടീരിയ ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഹാവിങ് എ സ്പെഷ്യലൈസ്ഡ് സെൽ വാൾ, ആൻഡ് സെൽ വാൾ സ്പെഷ്യലൈസേഷൻ ഉണ്ട്, ബിക്കോസ് ഇറ്റ് ഹാസ് ടു ലീവ് ഇൻ എക്സ്ട്രീം കണ്ടീഷൻ. അതുകൊണ്ട് എന്ത് ചെയ്യണം, അതിൻ്റെ സെൽ വാളിന് എന്തെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ പ്രത്യേകത ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കണം. സോ സച്ച് ബാക്ടീരിയ ഈസ് ഇൻക്ലൂഡഡ് അണ്ടർ ദി ആർക്കിബാക്ടീരിയൽ കാറ്റഗറി. ആൻഡ് ഫോർ ദിസ് ആർക്കിബാക്ടീരിയ ഈസ് ഡിവൈഡഡ് ഇൻടു 3 categories. They are halophiles, then thermoacidophils and methanogens. The 3 categories are halophiles, thermoacidophils and methanogens. Halophiles means they can live in extreme salt conditions or salty areas. The bacteria which is present in salty areas are called as what? Halophiles. Then the bacteria which can live in extreme temperature, extreme high temperature, that will comes under the thermoacidophils. And the third category, that is methanogens, they can live in marshy areas. ചതുപ്പ് നിലത്തിൽ ജീവിക്കുന്ന ബാക്ടീരിയയാണ് മെത്തനോജൻസ്, ആൻഡ് ദേ വിൽ പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് മീഥേൻ ഗ്യാസ്. Marshy areas, it can live in marshy areas, and also they will produce the methane gas. So these methane gas producing methanogens we can see in the gut of rudimentary animals. Gut means what? Digestive system. Rudimentary animals എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അയവിറക്കുന്ന ജീവികൾ, അവയുടെ where digestive system നമുക്ക് മെത്തനോജൻസിനെ കാണാൻ പറ്റും. Okay, so this is the classification of Archaebacteria. So they are classified into halophiles, thermoacidophils and methanogens. Halophiles are having the ability to live in extreme salty areas. Thermoacidophils can withstand high temperature. Then methanogens are having the ability to live in marshy areas, and they will produce the methane gas. And methanogens are present in the gut of rudimentary animals. So the cow dung we are using for production of biogas. Biogas ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി നമ്മൾ cow dung use ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട് because that contains the gas producing methanogens. Okay, so this is the classification of archaebacteria. And second one is the eubacteria. The word you know that is the ട്രൂ. യു എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ട്രൂ ആണ്. സോ ദിസ് ഈസ് ദ ട്രൂ ബാക്ടീരിയ. ആർക്കിബാക്ടീരിയയുടെ സെൽ വാളിൽ എന്തോ പ്രത്യേകതയുണ്ട്, അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് അതിന് എക്സ്ട്രീം ഹാർഷ് എൻവയോൺമെന്റിൽ ജീവിക്കാനുള്ള കപ്പാസിറ്റി ഉള്ളത്. ബട്ട് ദ eubacteria is the true bacteria. Usually we are studying about the structure of the eubacteria. So the eubacteria, that its classification we are going to see. So based on the nutrition basis, how the organism is obtaining food എങ്ങനെയാണ് obtain ചെയ്യുന്നത്, അതിൻ്റെ ബേസിസിൽ this eubacteria is divided into autotrophs and heterotrophs. Eubacteria, how they are obtaining food material from the environment, nutrition basis they are divided into autotrophs and heterotrophs. Autotrophs are having the ability to prepare their own food. സ്വന്തമായിട്ട് ഫുഡ് പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നത് ഓട്ടോട്രോഫ്സും, സ്വന്തമായിട്ട് ഫുഡ് പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റാത്തത് ഹെറ്ററോട്രോഫ്സും. സോ ഓട്ടോട്രോഫ്സ് ആർ again categorized into two. They are photosynthetic and chemosynthetic. Photosynthetic, you know that photo is light. By using light energy, it will synthesize its food material. Light energy means sunlight. Sunlight ഉപയോഗിച്ച് ഫുഡ് സിന്തസൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നതാണ് ഫോട്ടോസിന്തറ്റിക്കിനകത്ത് വരുന്നത്. കീമോസിന്തറ്റിക്, as the name suggests, it uses the chemical material for the synthesis of food. അല്ലേ, കെമിക്കൽസ് യൂസ് ചെയ്ത് ഫുഡ് സിന്തസൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എനർജി പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നതിനെയാണ് കീമോസിന്തറ്റിക് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, സോ ദ ഫോട്ടോസിന്തറ്റിക് ബാക്ടീരിയ ആൻഡ് കീമോസിന്തറ്റിക് ബാക്ടീരിയ, mainly the photosynthetic bacteria are cyanobacteria, that is blue green alga or BGA. Cyanobacteria, its another name is blue green alga. And this bacteria is having the coloring pigment called chlorophyll A. Chlorophyll A, it is used for the synthesis of food by higher plants. But higher plants ഉള്ളതുപോലെ it contains the photosynthetic pigment called chlorophyll A. So this cyanobacteria is having the ability to prepare its own food by using what? Chlorophyll A, and by using light energy it will synthesize ATP also. Okay, and when we look into the structure, so they are all unicellular forms. That means bacteria all are unicellular forms. They may be live as colonial means the unicellular forms will aggregate together to form the colony. So this is the colonial form, and maybe it is present as filamentous, so they are attached together. So this is the filamentous structure. So this is the filamentous structure. Okay, so the cyanobacteria may be live as unicellular in the environment, or colonial forms, or filamentous structure. And if it is present in colonial or filamentous structure, they are covered with a gelatinous substance. Gelatinous substance is covered on the colonial forms and also filamentous forms to protect it from the environment. It is, and also it help to stuck together. ഒന്നിച്ചിങ്ങനെ നിൽക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് gelatinous substance കൊണ്ട് ഇത് കവർ ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളത്. So the colonial forms and filamentous forms are covered with the gelatinous sheath or gelatinous substance. Okay, and the example is nostoc and anabina. Nostoc and anabina, they are the cyanobacteria. The example for the cyanobacteria are nostoc and anabina. And one speciality is there. There is a speciality under, they have the ability to fix atmospheric nitrogen fixation capacity under. The nostoc and anabina is having the nitrogen fixation capacity, and its cells, some of the cells are having some speciality, and in such cells only they will fix the atmospheric nitrogen. Or special cells on avada maatrame the atmospheric nitrogen fix cheyyatullu, and these cells are called as heterocyst. The nitrogen fixing cells of blue green alga is called as heterocyst. Heterocyst are nitrogen fixing cells of blue green alga. It's a very important question. Then, so that is the classification about the photosynthetic bacteria. So next we shall see into the chemosynthetic bacteria. Chemosynthetic means the bacteria which oxidizes some chemical substances to release energy. So the chemical substances includes nitrate, nitrite or ammonia. Okay, so the bacteria which uses some chemical substances for releasing of energy, that is ATP production, is called as chemosynthetic bacteria. And they also help for the nutrient cycling. So this chemosynthetic bacteria also helps for the nutrient cycling. Okay, so nutrient cycling means the nitrogen cycle, phosphorus cycle, sulfur cycle, etc. So the nitrogen cycle means the nitrogen which is present in the atmosphere, that is cycled through the various organisms, and that is again converted into the atmosphere. So through so many living forms it is cycled, and again it is released in the atmosphere. So that is the nitrogen cycle. In sulfur cycle also, and also for the phosphorus cycle, the bacteria will help for its cycling. Okay, so the nutrient cycling is done by the chemosynthetic bacteria. So this is about the autotrophs. So autotrophs are two categories. They are the photosynthetic and chemosynthetic. Photosynthetic uses light for the ATP production. Chemosynthetic uses the chemical substances for the ATP production. And next move into the heterotrophic category. Heterotrophic bacteria means the bacteria which depends on other organisms to obtain their food, to obtain their nutrition. Such groups are called as heterotrophs. And here the heterotrophs are commonly known as what? Most of them are decomposers, decaying other substances. Dead and decayed substances are again converted into minute particles, and from that they will obtain energy. So that is why it is called as decomposers. And these are the abundant category of what? Bacteria. Most of the bacteria are heterotrophs or decomposers, and they may be useful or harmful. Useful bacteria is used for the milk production of curd from milk, and also some of the bacteria which is used for the production of antibiotic. The useful bacteria is used for the production of what? Curd from milk. Lactobacillus bacteria present in milk will convert the milk to curd, and also some of the bacteria is used for the production of antibiotics, the medicines, that is called antibiotics. And some of the bacteria is used for the fixation of nitrogen fixation. That means the atmospheric nitrogen that is in unavailable form, that should be converted into the available form to the plants. Plants in unavailable ആയിട്ടുള്ള atmospheric nitrogen available ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഫോമിലോട്ട് മാറ്റുക. So that is called as nitrogen fixation. So these all are the functions of what? Heterotrophic bacteria. And I told you they may be pathogenic. Pathogenic means harmful effect. But pathogenic ആയിട്ട് പ്ലാന്റ്സിനും അനിമൽസിനും it will causes diseases. So the diseases mainly caused by these heterotrophs are some examples given: the typhoid, cholera, then citrus canker that comes in plants. So these first two diseases that we can see in humans. So these are the pathogenic property or the diseases caused by heterotrophic bacteria. Okay, and next about the reproduction of bacteria. Bacteria will mainly reproduces by fission. Fission means if it is a bacteria, if it is a single bacteria, it will get divides into two. So this is the fission. Understood? So fission means simple cell division. ഒന്ന് ഒരു ബാക്ടീരിയ രണ്ടായിട്ട് മാറും. So that is the single bacteria that is divided into two, that is called as fission. Then spore formation. Spore formation occurs only in the unfavorable condition. During unfavorable condition, the bacteria will form spores. Spores form ചെയ്ത് ഇങ്ങനെ ഇരിക്കും. നമ്മൾ we are taking the antibiotics ഒക്കെ എടുക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് നമ്മുടെ ബോഡിക്കകത്ത് എങ്ങനെ ഇരിക്കുന്നത്? സ്പോർ ഫോം ചെയ്തിരിക്കും. And if you are taking the antibiotic continuously, the bacteria will denature. Then if we are stopping consuming antibiotic after 1 or 2 doses, it will again regain its capacity. So the spore will germinate and infects the person. So during the unfavorable condition, it will forms the spore, and it will show a primitive method of sexual reproduction, that is the DNA transfer. From one bacteria, the DNA will goes to the next bacteria. That is a primitive method of sexual reproduction. So these are the reproductive methods in bacteria. So In today's class, we studied about the classification, mainly the introduction in the classification, who are the scientists who proposed different types of classification, two kingdom classification, then five kingdom classification, who is the father of biology and who is the father of taxonomy or classification, and who proposed two kingdom classification and who proposed five kingdom classification, that we studied in the introduction part. And about the Whittaker, in 1969 he proposed a five kingdom classification that was worldwide accepted classification. It includes five kingdoms. They are kingdom Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia, and in which today we discussed about the Monera, kingdom Monera. The all members are bacteria, and we can see Mycoplasma also. This bacteria, about the characteristics of all the bacteria we studied, and one more organism is left, that is the Mycoplasma. So there is no need to study more about Mycoplasma. Only 3 points are there. This Mycoplasma is do not having the cell wall. It is do not having the cell wall, and this is the simple organism. It can live without oxygen. The Mycoplasma is an organism which is having the ability to live without oxygen, and also most of them are pathogenic. So that is the characteristics of Mycoplasma. Only 3 characters. They are the organism which is not having the cell wall, it can live without oxygen, and also these are pathogenic. So these are the things we studied today. So dear children, up to this the first kingdom is over up to this, and in the next class we shall see the continuous portion, that is second kingdom we shall see in the next class. Thank you.